please roll.
You do have a quorum to continue with our agenda. Number 3 is reducing business, the approval of the July 8, 2025 public hearing agenda. Without objection, a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Rodilla, Kathleen Vance, Anne Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Number 4, information item. C is a public hearing on the Provo School District annual expenditure budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 per ARS 15-935. Ms. Commissioner.
Good afternoon, President Buendia, governing board members, superintendent Jimenez, colleagues, and listening audience. And as required, we will be presenting the proposed budget again so that it can be approved for adoption for fiscal year 2026. So as I stated at the last month's meeting, the Arizona Auditor General's Office, in collaboration with the Arizona Department of Education, released the fiscal year 2026 preliminary school district annual expenditure budget forms on May 22nd in compliance with ASRS 5901.05. However, the legislature did approve the state budget on June 27, 2025, and the AG's office released the final fiscal year 2026 school district expenditure budget forms on July 1st, 2025. The new funding formulas are not reflected on the preliminary budget forms that were used for the proposed budget, and we are not allowed to make any changes from the proposed to adopted. So we will continue to use the proposed budget forms, and we will revise the budget as required either in December or May to reflect the funding changes. But the legislation did pass a 2% increase for the equalization. The expenditure budget contains categories from which school districts can spend funds. These categories fall into these major classifications: M&O, or maintenance and operations, the classroom site fund, district additional assistance or DAA, and the USD uses 100% of those funds in maintenance and operations. We have federal and state projects, instructional improvement funds, and other funds including internal service funds. So this is part of page 7 of the budget. If you had an opportunity to review it, it's exactly the same as the last board meeting. The fiscal year 2026 revenue control limit projection for fiscal year 2026 is 8.9 million. The district additional assistance is 590,298. And we're projecting we will be carrying forward $475,000 from fiscal year 2025. Overall, the fiscal year 2026 general budget limit is 10 million. And this is in comparison to the most recent fiscal year 2025 budget limit revision 1. We had a budget limit of 13.5 million. Compared to fiscal year 2026, the proposed budget limit is a decrease of 10 million, is a decrease of 3.5 million. And essentially that's due to the extra funds that we did have to use in the past and allowed us to create a bigger budget balance. So, the classroom site fund budget limit for fiscal year 2025 was 1.5 million. We're stating that we will have a projected carry forward of $437,993. The fiscal year 2026 state allocation projection is $813,259, giving us a budget limit projection of 1.2 million. So it's just a slight decrease of $286,741 as compared to fiscal year 2025. And the federal grants on page 6, line 21, the fiscal year 2025 budget limit was 13.389 million. And for fiscal year 2026, the projected budget limit is 13.1, a decrease of 190,000. At this time, things can change, but as far as right now, that's what we're projecting. And that's just the page, the page 6, where it reflects all the grants. And then that's the state grants, the state funds. And page 695 is the instructional improvement fund, and those are the gaming revenues. This fund is similar to the passion site fund, however, the revenues determine budget total. So we can't spend more than we have cash. The fluctuations in projected revenues will cause an increase or decrease in the budget total. And we're just budgeting the same as the prior years. And we're looking at 90,000, we don't typically spend the total amount. 50,000 is for teacher compensation increases, and 40,000 is for instructional improvement program, and that's one position. And I believe currently it's at the intermediate school. For other funds, we had a budget limit of 14.4 million for fiscal year 2025 in the most recent revision. And that should say fiscal year 26, the second line. We're projecting a limit projection of 10.6 million, a decrease of 3.8, and that difference is primarily due to the SFB. If it increases, we can always increase the projection. These are cash control budgets. And that's this page, page 6, and it's the right-hand side of that page. Are there any questions?
Questions, board, or anyone to the budget? Mr. Diaz, you have something?
Ms. Carlisle, if you don't mind, based on your experience and your expertise, in the areas that are showing negatives and for the members of the community when we see those negatives, one of the questions that if we can answer, where do you see that is the impact because of the differences that are showing, or what are some potential impact that may have for the upcoming year?
So the negative is a decrease, it's not a negative balance, it's actually just a decrease from one fiscal year to the other. And as I stated for M&O, the change was due to the fact that we had extra funds that were building up in M&O, and we no longer have those funds, so that's the decrease for the M&O budget. And the other ones are due to budget cuts, the slight decreases in grants, we are going to guess is gonna be larger. It just depends on what the administration decides. But currently, there is no staff reductions. I believe that the biggest impacts are to professional development at this time. And so I know that the superintendent is focusing and making sure that the district as a whole is unified and making sure that we're all on the same page to what professional development needs to be provided to staff.
Ms. Banks?
I just wanted to ask, I know that I've been reading that the state funding, there's kind of like a hold from the government to the state funding for education. Is that gonna affect our budget? Or is that a whole different thing that I'm
That's a great question. So there was a hold on the state funding due to the fact that the budget had not passed. So what the state did inform all school districts is that the final payment for fiscal year 25, they were only gonna pay a certain percentage, which they did. But the rest of the funding that was withheld will be paid in the new fiscal year. And they did approve to to override the expenditure limit for the next 2 years until, I don't know when they will change the law. But that went ahead and got approved again for the next 2 years, so that's another worry that we won't have. But the funding, we will be getting the funding, like I said, they actually approved a 2% increase for the state equalization.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything, Ms. Stevens? Another question that I think, just in particular for the overall subject, and I know Ms. Carlisle, you mentioned, some of the steps that we're taking at this point to try and curb some of the expenses or where we're at, but I feel like just to be as transparent or at least as upfront, I think, as possible with everyone in regards to the school district is that there are and will be some very courageous conversations, I guess is the best way to put it, when it comes to what steps need to be taken. And I don't mean to sound any alarms, but I think if staffing and or anything else has to be, I don't want anybody to feel blindsided, especially because these types of opportunities right now in a public hearing setting is definitely that opportunity for anyone to make sure that they're voicing any kind of recommendations and or thought processes. So I want to be sure that we're, and I know we try to host these as much as possible, but I think it's also important that in our upcoming retreats, or in anything even that I'm proposing as the president as an agenda, or what may be specifically, is just trying to get in front of and look at solutions as opposed to try and catch up to anything that we need to. I feel like the administration and everything else has been taking steps, I feel like, with the staff, and I have to credit Mr. Diaz, because I do ask questions. And I know that it may seem, I think many may think or may seem like we don't, or we're just kind of going through the motions. But I think Mr. Sabala and Mr. Diaz, for sure, and probably Ms. Carlisle know that I try to be as pointedly asking questions prior to meetings and or making sure that I'm getting my head out of the weeds if I need to when it comes to certain things, either I'm reading or things that need to be brought to attention. And part of that is the reality of where our fiscal standing might be in the next 1 to 2 years, even sooner, because of what's happening with the chaos that it has nothing to do with us, but it all affects us. And I think those are the parts where, as a board member, we're tasked with having to set aside, I don't want to say it negative, we have to set aside our hearts and look at things more of the way of the board making these decisions. We all want to be able to see everyone, love everyone, and be very, very understanding. However, when push comes to shove, I'm hopeful that us as a board, are and will be able to make those decisions. But I also want everyone to be upfront with everyone that these are the conversations that we're going to have to start having and pushing down the line to the superintendent and our CFO on, hey, these are the things that we're going to need to start to see as things even kind of come to, as things are taking place in Washington or in the state that we really have no control over and we have to be prepared for. So really, again, I think I shared with the superintendent and the CFO that I have no doubt that where they are and what they're doing is in the best interest, but I definitely want to make sure that the board and all of us feel as empowered and prepared as well to genuinely be able to make those tough decisions when we need to, because I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be anything that it's going to be like, but it is going to be something we have to really consider as we're moving forward in kind of some uncertain times. So that's it.
Thank you, absolutely. So we do, at the beginning of every, or at the end of every fiscal year, the in-between period, we do go over the ADM, which is what drives all the funding, not just grants, M&O, impact aid, and we go over the FTEs, and if we have a declining ADM, then that means we're gonna have declining staff, and we continue to look at it, we have to look at it periodically throughout the year. And we have addressed that, and there is a plan in place. But of course, like any other organization, the last thing we wanna do is affect somebody's livelihood. So if we can, we're taking steps to ensure that that's our final recourse.
Right.
And we've been able to do that by cutting back some of the professional development.
And I guess, sorry, not to make it more, as far as the student enrollment and what I can kind of see as somewhat of a decline over the past couple of years, that in itself as well should be very alarming to everyone, because if we do not have enough students, that also goes into the conversation that we may be closing a campus or two, or one at least. Because I think that that's been brought up on a couple of different occasions as a recommendation, and I don't want that to go beyond us to say, oh, we would never do that. We have to really make those considerations. And I know you all know that, but I think to the board and to the public at large, those are the things that, while nobody wants to have to do that, and nobody wants to see a campus gone, we have to be mindful and not get into situations where we're putting ourselves in a bad place. Never had to really have that conversation, because we've never really been in a situation where we've been in pretty much of a golden age, I will say, for a really long time. It's over now. And we really need to be very understanding that that is not where we want to be, obviously, but for the sake of the public's understanding and everyone else, that is where we need to be putting our mindset and understanding why.
And this budget is actually a 4% approximately decrease in ADM. So if it's greater than that, then we'll have that opportunity again to adjust our budget either in December or May to increase it. But we're very conservative, so I wanna make sure that we're not overspending, and I mean, at this point, we can hope for the best, but we wanna plan accordingly.
Right. Sure, yes, sir.
President Rodriguez, members of the board, and members of the team, I want to piggyback on President Rodriguez's words, and also provide or take advantage of this opportunity to share some additional information. Like President Rodriguez said, we've been fortunate in the last couple of years from different sources of funding. What drives the funding in the school district is the enrollment. The more students we have, the additional money or funding that we receive, when the enrollment declines, it impacts our operational funding. You've probably seen as members of the community that we are spending or investing in a lot of construction. So I want to use this moment to also bring some clarity that there's different funding for different purposes. We've been very fortunate that in the last couple of years we have received about $14 million additionally to improve our buildings. And I want to make sure that out in the public, when we are informing that they might be decreasing funding while we continue to do construction of projects, that is additional funding. Our the director of operations has applied for additional grants exclusively to improve the well-being of our building. And we have secured now the buildings in a way that they will be here in shape for many years to come. In addition, that in collaboration with the board and the cabinet, we've been looking at ways, and I want to reassure the public that we've been looking at the budget and the projections of the budget to be not only conservative, but also to find the best possible ways that we will not be impacting the students as well as our teams. But nevertheless, we have made adjustments in an effort to make it the least disruptive possible. So I want to reassure the system that we have and the changes that we made is to continue to move forward in our goals, to continue to provide the best education possible, and continue to improve our buildings, maximizing not only the allocated funding, but also any additional grants we are seeking as a district. That's it.
Anything else from the board or any other questions? If not, thank you, Ms. Carlisle. Motion to adjourn the public hearing, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance.
All those in favor of the motion, Juan Gordillo,
So,
Kathleen Vance,
Masako.
Anna Marie Stevens, motion carries.
it's 5:25 PM, we'll call the regular board meeting to order at 5:30, thank you. Oh, is that the paper?
Got a text saying memo was wrong. So.
Alright, go.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call today's meeting to order, Tuesday, July 8, 2025. Baboquivari Unified School District Governing Board meeting, turn it over to Mr. Sabala for, oh, sorry, one second. As I call the meeting to order, I want to reiterate and of course, stand in support of the district's vision, mission, and purpose statements. Our vision statement is our students will be loved, encouraged, and prepared to take on the world by embracing our IMDA. Our mission statement is we create healthy, inspiring, motivating, developing, achieving graduates. IMDA is the autumn word meaning our way of life. Purpose statement is we create a nurturing learning environment for every child every day with an additional commitment to support our IMDA. As members and representatives of the Tohono O'odham Nation who serve the Baboquivari Unified School District, we recognize that the school is and serves the tribal community on tribal lands. And as such, we want to encourage any and all board members and community and staff to utilize the O'odham York as much as you can. That was going to be, nonetheless, in line with our core values and as such in respect to the community. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sabala for roll call.
All those present, Juan Padilla,
And I too.
Kathleen Vance,
Good night.
Anne Marie Stevens, Sylvia Hendricks, Jessica Miguel. That completes roll.
Okay, we do have a quorum. We'll continue with this evening's agenda. Letter C is our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Letter D this evening's our routine business. Approval, number 1 is the approval of the July 8, 2025 regular board meeting agenda. I do have an amendment forward to your information items that I want to make sure include, which is motion to amend information coaches and club sponsors. Layla Ochoa for head track and field coach, and the assistant track and field coach position will remain vacant. That is the only amendment, unless there's anything else from the board or Mr. Diaz.
Just say Layla's the head.
Oh, head track and field coach, Layla Ochoa. If there are no other amendments, I'll motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Anna Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Padilla,
So,
Kathleen Vance,
Masako.
Anne Marie Stevens. Motion carried.
number 2 this evening is approval of the June 17, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Board, if you are without objection, we may also approve June 24, 2025 special board meeting minutes as one. If there are no objections, a motion to approve. Second by Ms. Anna Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Padilla,
So,
Kathleen Vance,
Masako.
Anne Marie Stevens. Motion carries.
thank you. Number 4 is our call to the audience.
No call to the audience this evening.
For the record, we have no call to the audience. We'll continue with this evening's agenda. Letter E is our information items. Number 1 is the Baboquivari Unified School District Financial Report. Ms. Clementina Carlisle.
The first spreadsheet. No, I'm gonna do the memo. The first spreadsheet, yeah. It's the second one.
I was looking for a CSV file.
Good afternoon, Governing Board, President Buendia, and Superintendent Diaz, colleagues, and listening audience. I hope you had an opportunity to review the 2025 expenditures through June 30th, 2025. So currently, there's only one negative budget balance, and that's in Fund 955. After the last payroll for 25 is generated, the budget will be adjusted. We have enough cash in there and we'll make that adjustment. And the negative balance will clear up. There is no longer a negative balance in impact aid. Journal entries were created to move allowable expenditures from M&O to maximize the state equalization funds. Overall, 75.28% of the budget for all funds are expended and or encumbered, leaving a budget balance of 24.72%. The average percentage for expenditures through June is 100%, and Baboquivari has spent 64.63% of the budget from all funds, not including encumbrances. Public school districts are allowed to continue paying invoices for goods and services received by June 30th through the encumbrance period. Our deadline is August 27, 2025. And as of 7/2/25, there were 40 open purchase orders, but I think we're down to about 28 right now. So accounts payable is doing a great job in making sure all the purchase orders are closed for the year. Are there any questions?
Questions from the board? Go ahead, Ms. Carla.
If you could open the tax credit information, please. So this is a spreadsheet. I hope you had an opportunity to take a look at it. It is the current tax credit information through June 27, 2025. As of June 27th, there is a total of $143,437.77 available in tax credit funds. The primary has a $63,276.65 available. The intermediate has $16,440.94. Alternative middle school has $3,317.82. Alternative high school has $8,212.89. Baboquivari Middle School has $31,495.14. And Baboquivari High School has $20,694.33 available. The total expenditures from January through June in fiscal year 2025 was $14,889.13. And the total donations received in the same time period was $15,146. Are there any questions?
No questions.
Erin, if you could please open up the student activities spreadsheet, please. For fiscal year 2025 balances through 6/30, I hope you had an opportunity to see all the attached spreadsheet. The student activities account had deposits totaling $1,210.06 in the month of June from Baboquivari High School yearbook sales, a donation to the VHS Dog, and a credit from the hotel for the senior trip for the class of 2025. The total disbursements for the month of June were $7,408.50. There were disbursements totaling $5,600.02 and $1,808.48 for the purchase of yearbooks from the Baboquivari High School yearbook club. The ending balance for the student activity account on 6/30 was $100,591.92. The student auxiliary fund had deposits totaling $86.55 for the Baboquivari High School auxiliary from Play on Sports. There was disbursements totaling $3,681.71. $899 was for AIABs and $2,782 was for the Scholastic Book Fairs. The ending balance for the student auxiliary account on 6/30 was $3,242.29. Are there any questions?
Questions to the clerk? Ms. Max?
I guess this will be a question for superintendent. On the yearbook, is the, Indiana Oasis Middle High School part of that as well? Is it just for the secondary?
VHS. It's a club for the high school.
Okay,
If they don't have a club, then they're not on the list.
okay. So it's not, that's the club. It's
Those are the
not,
clubs.
okay. So they have yearbooks then?
If they do, it's not in a club form, so these are clubs that have to be formed at the beginning of every fiscal year. They have to go through a process and they have to have officers and
I think the question was, did high school have a yearbook then?
the high school did
Maybe.
have a club, yes.
No, I mean a yearbook.
Yes, they sold the yearbooks.
Okay. So,
Do you want one?
yeah, I didn't see any, no. No, but I was just asking because, I know it says Baboquivari High School yearbook, but, so if the Indian Oasis Middle School, High School decided that they wanted to do a yearbook, they would just need to form a club and go through the steps and then their funding would be zero? Or,
How does yearbook raise funds
It
for?
would depend on how much the actual yearbook costs versus how much they pay. So there would be a profit if it costs $5 and they charge 10, then they would make a $5 profit. That's just an example.
And they fundraise at events. They might fundraise at community day, like your book club will start the club, but then they will like go to a community day and fundraise at the community days or.
For food
days.
sales?
Yeah, the book or the book sales.
For food sales or?
Yeah, food sales,
okay, so I'm just wondering because I know that even though the Indian Oasis Middle High School is a small site, that I think that a lot of these things, I think that it would be a good thing for them to have. I mean, I would like to see the kids in yearbooks. But I don't know if pictures are taken over there, or if it's just.
It's entirely up to the students if they wanna form that club.
Okay.
It's run 100% by the students.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Guess we'll be looking forward to. Is that it, Ms. Wentz? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Carla. Continue with this evening's agenda, number 2, the Baboquivari High School Principal's Reports. Mr. Diaz.
President Medina, members of the board, before we begin our principal's reports, I want to give you a little bit of background regarding what we're trying to accomplish today. We have a big day, two big days coming up for our retreat, and today is going to be the foundation for instruction. Before we begin our 3-year plan, it is important to understand how we have our state improvement plan as well as a 3-year plan, and also based on the data, some of the changes that our principals want to do. Our principals are going to come and present the state plan. That way, on Friday, you can see how those are going to be integrated with our 3-year plan as well. Also, I want to bring to your attention back to our goals, goal number 1, which is our proficiency goals, because they're gonna play an important part not only today but also on Friday and Saturday. We have a mastery goal, which by now, if I quiz you, if all of you will know by heart, 80% of our students, they're gonna score 70% or higher. But we also have a growth goal of a minimum of 25%. As the schools as our school and our students take the test, the state test, we're looking for both. We're looking for how many students are becoming proficient, but also how many students are showing growth. So I want you to please keep that information, that background information in mind. Today our principals, they're going to present not only the goal, but what they're gonna be doing based on those goals. On Friday, what you will be, we're gonna go in a deep dive, and I encourage any of the community members that want to see it, hopefully we will be able to live stream it as well. But we're gonna go over the 3-year plan, and how this is integrated in the 3-year plan, and you'll be able to see a little review of what they're doing, how are they doing it, who is responsible, and by where we're trying to accomplish those goals. So it's going to be more in depth. So again, take good notes because they're going to become very handy on Friday and Saturday, related to what are the plan that was submitted to our state. And at this point, please put your hands together and help me welcome the only and one of a kind, Ms. Enriquez. Vincent, please come to the podium to present your principal report. Put your hands together, welcome.
Good evening, President Buendia, governing board members, Mr. Diaz. I have submitted the school integrated action plan in writing. I don't want to read everything word for word since we are going to be discussing in depth on Friday. So as Mr. Diaz mentioned, this is reported to the state on our goals, and we came up with 25% being that we obviously want a higher increase. But this is all based on data that is provided by ABE on where we currently are at now. And so we wanted to make something that's attainable without overwhelming the staff as well with something super high. So we're hoping, since this is gonna be the end of year 2 going into year 3, that we're making those small gains. So we looked at that based on a 3-year plan, so that way by the end of the 3 years, our goal was to have increased by at least 75% if you calculate it for each year. So for primary school, we wanna increase our math proficiency by 25% by utilizing the assessments and benchmarks aligned to the standards in order to accurately predict assessment results for K-3. Again, there's action points, what the focal point is, our timeline, and then people or a person's responsible. It's not just always gonna be myself and my AP, it's gonna incorporate like our school staff, school teams, whatever the case may be. Scroll down there. Can you go to that one? No, go back up to goal 2. So it's kind of towards there at the bottom. 3. Wait, go back. So goal 2 is now focusing on ELA and increasing that proficiency by 25%, which incorporates a lot of the common understanding of what students know and will be able to do, and understanding that beyond textbooks and using the programs with fidelity, being that we are using it district-wide. And then if you could go to the next goal. And our last goal, and so the state only requires that you provide 2 goals. We want to include our attendance goal as well. So we want to decrease the chronic absenteeism rate. We were given that the first year we were at 57%, we decreased it to 52%. So we're hoping to have that 25 decrease by the end of this school year. And again, I don't want to read everything, being that it's going to be included in the presentation with more detail, but this has the action steps, again, when it's going to be done by, and then who is responsible for supporting that.
President Woody?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I would like to also point out, chronic absenteeism, if anyone that has 18 absences or more. And this is also a great opportunity to remind parents that students are not allowed to be out more than 4 days per quarter. But 18, it is considered chronic absenteeism. Back to you, President Woody.
And I know, thank you, Ms. Is it Enriquez? Is it Benson Enriquez? Is it Enriquez?
But it's Enriquez Benson.
I want to be respectful to you. Enriquez Benson. 100,000%. I have to acknowledge that. I know y'all do probably, at least what I've seen, most, I don't want to say aggressive, that's probably not my word, you're the most like adamant about this needs to be where they need to be, and I see more of the genuine outreach. And so I really, really want to make sure that all the campuses, all our schools especially understand that that's not something that I feel like the board is going to, and in a way that we want to not say that that's not important. But I really also am encouraged that you have a lot of different, at least what I'm able to read, what I was able to kind of go through. And of course, over the course of the year that we've always had the conversation is our ability as members in the political realm, whatever it may be, but I think as members that have some understanding of the tribal systems. And I feel like this may be the time and the place because we do have a new HRDC committee that but we are reporting to. Hopefully, we can have some form of a better relationship. Not that it hasn't been good, but I think that there's definitely things that we have really tried to be adamant about. I'm sure Mr. Diaz has been adamant about as well. One of those is that we really need some support somehow, some way. And it can't just be the schools that are trying to do everything. So I'm grateful that we're putting together and making this an emphasis and focal point. But I also want you guys to be able to do what you need to do with the students that are present. And let's try and push on our partners to try and help us on the other end of those that are not. And it really reflects in the sense of the community at large. It doesn't reflect on the school board. I mean, it does, of course, obviously, but the community in itself has to come together to some degree to be like, this is important. We gotta do it's institutional. I don't want to be part of it. So that's just where I want to leave it. I think as we move into the retreat, like you said, we're going to dive in a little bit more and we'll be able to kind of give us some more. But I definitely want to say that from this standpoint, and at least from where we're sitting, I really want to try and emphasize that as much as we can whenever we're having communications with, whether it's HRDC, whether it's any other counterpart that we have, so that we can try and get some relief for y'all on having to deal with it.
If I could add
Sure.
something. I think for K or pre-K3, a lot of people don't understand, well, our little ones can't get themselves up and get themselves. Especially those 3 and 4 or 5, all of them, they rely on their parents to get them to school. They want to come to school. Sometimes they come and, we haven't seen you, my mom, dad, whoever they live with, they didn't bring me. We have so many different supports at the school as far as, our parent liaison can transport, but then it comes to the point where when do we say no? Because it's becoming something they not necessarily rely on, but they take advantage of. So I think we need to also emphasize that to our parents that you're setting up the stage for their success throughout their academic career, because if they think it's okay to come to school whenever they want to be late or tardies, that's another number we could probably pull for chronic tardiness.
Yeah.
And even being checked out early. This past year, the school date ended at 2:30. We had a line of parents at 2 o'clock checking their student out. That's 30 minutes of instruction that they're missing out on. So those things too need to really be emphasized with our community, that school needs to be seen as something important. They need to be here. And as you mentioned, it can't be all on the school. There has to be some support somewhere. We can have parents sign attendance contracts all day long. It's just a piece of paper for them. There's really nothing, and I don't want to say we have to consequence parents, but where does it come to where we're holding people? We're being held accountable for teaching their children.
Right.
How do we have that same aspect for parents and guardians?
I agree. And then there's definitely some laws on the book on the nation standpoint that just haven't really been enforced and really haven't been addressed. And I know for a fact, when I was in school, that was one reason my mom and dad got after me, because I don't want to have a police officer at my door because I'm out of school, which is what they were actually doing. Like, you need to be at school, and they really emphasized it. Granted, I got older and I did. When I was younger, it was definitely, get up, you're going. You're gonna do this. I mean, but more or less, I think it's just important that that's emphasized. And we're letting you all know that we're here to support. I don't want to continue to badger you guys. And I'm saying that that's myself. I don't, other board members may have what they would like to see, and that's okay too. But I'm gonna try to focus my energy in the community as much as possible. That's just my. If not, Ms. Maria Spencer, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Ms. Gay, please join us, and let's please give a round of applause.
Good evening, President Medina, board members, and Superintendent Diaz, and community members listening. So I turned in my board report, and the biggest thing on our action plan is that we want to increase our ELA and math proficiency by 25%. And I think we're on a good track so far, and which we'll find out on Friday to see what we will be doing about it. And but I do want to highlight that with all the budget cuts and that are going on right now, and just things that the intermediate doesn't have, didn't stop us from making success. So we came up with creative ways on how we can find money and how we can get things done, because nothing doesn't stop us. As our vision states, that success no less. So we, as you can see, we have gotten over $500,000 of extra funds from just being creative and finding ways of getting money and going to training. So we're excited to show you our growth on Friday and how our attendance has grown over the past 3 years. And it is important that the kids are here every day. So we're hoping that maybe there is something that we can, as a team, come together and try and find a way that we can present to HRDC and get their support. That's it.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Ms. Medeiros, appreciate you.
Please tell me one more time how the opportunity is welcome Ms. Constance on the principal for Baboquivari.
Hello, President Buendia, board members, Superintendent Diaz, and everyone here. Just like everyone else so far, because we all have the same district goal and we're working towards school improvement, our SIAP, our school improvement plan, essentially is we're going to improve our, Baboquivari Secondary Campus will increase math and ELA proficiency by 25% through the implementation of non-textbooks and align instructional practices. And we'll go into depth into what those practices are on Friday. But those are the two big things, and what you'll notice, even though this is here, it's a 3-year plan, and we're working hard, and you'll see some of our growth in the last year on Friday. And then, the third one is to continue building our teachers and professional learning communities and development.
I just want to know, part of the conversation I know that I was able to go over for the last meeting, I want to definitely make sure that from what I've been able to observe, what I feel like you've been able to put together for you is a way of improving your choices for your leadership roles or whatever it is at the campus, APs, whatever it may be. I'm excited to see what you're going to be able to do, especially, and I think that there's definitely been some improvements when it comes to what we have been asking for, what you've been able to observe we've been asking for over the past at least 3-4 years. My knowledge. I mean, I've been sitting here for 6 years, and I can feel like we've asked a lot of the secondary campus. And optimistic that, again, much of what the school does really does lie in the hands of where and when is the community going to get behind us, that these things that we represent, this data, generally relies on them getting their student not only to school, but engaging with the school on where their student is and what they need to be able to do to graduate. And I think y'all have taken strides in trying to provide, as far as the district at large, parent review, all those other mechanisms to be able to have fought for college and career readiness, fought for any of those other systems. Just ways and means for them to be able to have as much information as possible, honestly. So I'm excited for this next year to see you really kind of step in and be able to give a full effort. And I wanted to say thank you, I think, genuinely, most of all. And I'm really, as far as standpoint of a board member, being able to be present and observe and be able to give you some feedback and insight. It's always been, I think, one of the greater parts of being a board member and being able to be a part of the walkthroughs is that openness to what we were able to observe. Even though we're looking at it from a different viewpoint, so as someone in your profession or any other profession sitting in here, I think that the board or board members who do participate do have a very different, you bring a view that can be helpful, and so I'm grateful to be able to do that. But I just wanted to make sure it's there, because I really want to make sure that you feel like you're heard and seen to each of you. I think that's principles, new or not. But that was just what I wanted to see, because I feel like these steps and the steps that Mr. Diaz is really taking to really try and impress on y'all are showing. They're just not showing the way that we would like them to, but I can genuinely say what I have seen from the beginning of being here as a board member is definitely something that I didn't see it at that. And now there's so much more that a parent can do if they just simply take the interest and participate in their students' activities. No, it's not easy, but I think y'all try to put as much as you can forward to it. And if there is never any, and I truly will say that I think there's been a lot more, it's been a lot more quiet, and that's always a good thing, because it always means that there are things happening that maybe need to be happening. That means they're not bothering board members about what they feel like is not happening or is happening. So, I'm grateful and hopeful to step into the next retreat and see much more of what y'all are planning. But I just want to make sure to say that this meeting is thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
And now, please, her first solo principal report. I would welcome Ms. Mason for a demonstration. This is the encouraging parent.
Good evening, President Mandia. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Diaz, and listening audience. I also have stepped in to continue a foundation that was in place, coming in as a transitioning into this position. I am grateful for what was established then. My plan is to continue with the goals of English language arts and math with a minimum growth proficiency of 25. Of course, our goal being at the district level for 80% of all of our students to obtain that 70% mastery for those standards. I'm confident with the platform we currently have with the community, they're aligned to the standards. Many of our students, as you know, are taking multiple or layered classes. So it's a specific and very unique situation in which I am observing and rolling out this plan that I look forward to on Friday, explaining and sharing with you a lot more. And I'm open to suggestions, I'm open to ideas. I am here, number one, to listen, to support and encourage and motivate, and to provide that maybe not a missing link, but maybe a continuous or a different viewpoint to seeing what the plan will be rolling this out. I can't see too much, did I miss anything? I can share with you that I've went ahead and embedded some of what I bring in with me, which is very heavily reliant on acquisition of the language and compliance pieces to make sure that our program is both compliant and reaching those goals of language, because I believe that all assessments are an assessment of language, whether you're an English language learner or not. There's a lot of academic language that is embedded within our assessments. So I am bringing in, and I did go ahead and add SIAP strategies into the plan, and also just the way our program is set up with multiple courses. There is something in there labeled Daily 5 or the Daily Cafe, in which gives an overview of more PD opportunities for our teachers and staff to implement just one more way to make sure that we're hitting those standards and that we're addressing to our individual student needs. Number 3, would you read that?
Number 3 is actually at the top.
Oh, okay. I believe it's a 2-part, but I went ahead and put goal 3, part A and part B, to help me understand what was in place already. I am in the process of rewriting and writing out writing this in a way that I will best understand it and display for you also to understand and share with you on Friday. And I believe it's talking about the 25% in ELA and 25% increase, a minimum of increase in math as well. And we're also implementing and embedding the PBIS as an enrichment and strategy to overall show growth within those goals.
Okay. Any questions from the board? If not, I know we'll definitely have more time on Friday, so I won't go too much into it, but she is.
I kind of takes out that we need to make sure that we speak within the microphone, that with everybody can hear it. It minimizes that projection on the way.
It's just me talking.
And just use the microphone.
Ms. Luzon, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll see you on Friday.
You're welcome.
Number 6 this evening is the Indian Oasis Alternative Middle, number 4, number 3. Way ahead of me. Indian Oasis Primary School Handbooks.
President Bonilla, members of the board, the next 4 items, you will see doc handbooks. Each handbook has an attached memo specifying the changes that were made in every single one. I can have every principal to come up and answer any questions that you may have regarding all the changes made, or you're more than welcome to give us guidance on how would you like us to proceed.
Before you come up with any I guess board members, are there any questions to the memo or to the changes? Stevens has asked.
I don't have any questions.
No questions. If there are no questions, we'll move on. Oh, sorry. Did you have something, Stevens? Go ahead.
Not really, I just wanted to say if there's anything that was drastic changes, and that would probably be the only thing to conference at this point.
Anything, Ms. Enriquez, that you feel like you need them to know because they're gonna ask? Okay.
Well, since you put it down.
Yeah. That's not how we are then.
Okay, so I think it was well, it's in all of them actually for behavior. This year we do, so as you know, there is a policy that states that you should avoid suspension for students, K through 4th grade.
Correct.
Obviously, there are some things on there that would qualify for students to be suspended, not to say that we haven't. But we also want to make it clear to parents. Last year, we had a lot of behaviors that involved scratches, bites, and pinching that cut through the skin of our staff. And some of those parents, when called, it was, well, what did the teacher do to them? We want to make it very clear that if it does happen, they will be sent home for the day. I don't feel that that is safe for our staff, and I'm sure Ms. Meese can attest to how many calls we had to make for injuries. We just want them to know we're not going to suspend them for the day, but we want them to go home because it's something that they need to understand that it's not okay to do to not only staff but students as well, their classmates. So that was one of the biggest things we did add.
No, thank you for bringing that to the attention, because yes, very much aware, especially with the law conference and everything, that there are on the laws about those things, but I'm grateful and actually will stand 100% behind you. Not okay, so definitely. Any other questions, board members? Thank you, Ms. Enriquez, thanks. Number 4 is the Indian Oasis Intermediate High School handbooks. Anything you want to make sure we're noted of, Ms. Regulus?
I just wanted to add that we added a few little charts and pictures so that our parents can have more clarity on what we are doing at the intermediate campus to help their students be successful. And that is it.
Okay. Noted. Thank you. Nothing else from the board regarding the intermediate school handbooks. Number 5 are community middle and high school handbooks. Does someone say anything? Sure.
The only thing that you might get questions on, I think, is there's just the part we added about the vape sensors being in the restrooms.
Okay.
They are 100% working. We've already had them tested through our summer bridge program. So we know that they work, we know the humidity level. And so it is working, but we did put that in there. It's been coming up, but we actually put that in the handbook, so it feels new, that's why. Those are the big ones, aside from the adjusting of the page numbers, taking out COVID things, nothing like, we saw COVID stuff in there.
Yeah.
On the cell phones, is there changes on that?
No, we've always had a cell phone policy,
Okay.
and it's aligned with the, go ahead.
Sorry, Spanish Governing Board, you guys will be passing a new policy if you all vote to approve it this evening, and then I'll push it forward to the high school, or all the schools, let them know the new policy.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about this.
Our policy kind of already aligned, so it's nothing new. Like, this was one, ours was already done, and then that.
And the policy step.
Thank you, Ms. Monte. If there are no other questions, any noises, alternatively, Ms. Campbell? Ms. Mazon, anything you want to expressly say? I need this change.
Nothing drastic that I recently added, but again, I am a transitioning principal, so some of the handbook updates were done in conjunction with myself and Mr. Lee. Excuse me.
Okay.
So if there is anything, let me know that needs clarification.
Thank you. Mr. Lee? Oh, again. If nothing else, we'll move on. Number 7 is the Baboquivari School District Accounting and Purchasing.
Personally, members of the board, I'm gonna ask Ms. Carlisle to please come and join us for the purchasing manual and any changes or updates.
You just, I believe that the memo states that there was funds that were added that were missing in the past.
If nothing else, no questions from the board. Number 8 is the our Baboquivari for School District Governing Board member reports. Anything to report from the board? Anything from Ms. Stevens, Ms. Vance?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. I meant to re-add my items, but I won't go into them today since we're not on the agenda. So we'll move on. Number 9 is our Baboquivari School District Superintendent's report. Please.
President Maria, members of the board, members of the team, and our listening audience. As part of the month of June, it was a month full of planning and procedures, also professional development during our retreat. As part of the superintendent's report, I want to take advantage of this opportunity to thank our cabinet team for participating on our two-day retreat. And to be able to take a look, or a deeper look in some of the changes that we want to make for the upcoming year, or bring clarity on some of the procedures. Thank you to our team for participating. I also wanted to celebrate everyone that made summer school possible, including our operations, transportation, food service, all the teachers that were able to participate under the leadership of Mr. Lees and under the guidance of our curriculum and instruction department, Ms. Casey and Ms. Medina. As you she'll be presented by some information shortly, but I want to give a shout out to first grade that they have 90% attendance, third grade 88% attendance, seventh grade 96% attendance. And a shout out to 11th and 12th graders, even though they don't have the attendance that I wanted, they completed 134 activities. And when Ms. Casey presents, I want you to please take a closer look of 7th grade, 5th grade, and 2nd grade growth. I think it's a testimony of the commitment and also the goals and endurance to be able to focus on the areas that we need to focus in order to show the proficiency as well as the growth. Also from all the departments, thank you operations and custodial department for all the summer cleaning efforts that are taking place. We have conducted one facilities walkthrough, and there's a few more that we will be scheduling. I want to welcome to the HIMADA Enrich department, Ms. Chico and Ms. Cipriano that will be joining the HIMADA culture teachers team. Transportation, thank you for your support in the 12 summer school routes, and also that you had no issues this summer with transportation. Thank you to making sure the kids made it back and forth, and all of the efforts in cleaning the fleet over the summer. I also a big shout out to two of our students whose art will be showcased at the IDEA conference this coming August. And also congratulations to two of our parents who will be joining the IDEA conference. They will receive a scholarship and they will be also participating. And at this point, I will also ask number one to ask Ms. Kinsey to join to present the summer school information also as part of the superintendent's report. So let's give our beginning to Ms. Kinsey. Thank you for representing the summer school instruction.
Small one of these documents.
Yeah, it should be, that bottom left, third from the bottom.
Curriculum instruction, summer school.
Alright, good evening, governing board president Buendia, governing board members, superintendent Diaz, and esteemed members of the crowd. Here's our summer school report from the 2025 summer school. Mr. Neese was our summer school coordinator, but he's unfortunately not able to be here today, so I'm filling in for him. Oh, I can? Oh, that's exciting. Alright. I can drive over here now. Alright, so we had 172 students enroll in grades K to 12. We did originally extend those invitations to students who were identified as on the cusp of proficiency, so those students who just needed that little bit of intervention in order to get to where they would be marked as proficient. 146 of those students completed. We had 14 certified teachers who had free security, an office clerk, and a health aide. We also had someone who stepped in as a summer school sub, so that if another teacher was unable to be there, she was able to step in to make sure that our students had the most seamless experience possible. We really wanted our students to focus on their reading, writing, and mathematical understanding. We also did it through Lego, so we really leaned in on the STEM focus, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so you can kind of see some of those other things there, the expectations that Mr. Neese had as a coordinator. For each of the grade levels, you'll see the standards here. I'm not going to read through each of them, but these are the standards that were targeted at each grade level. What we did is we went through and we took a look at those standards that were very close to meeting our district goal of a 70% proficiency. And so we picked those standards that were close but not quite there. Those standards that on the post-test just needed a little bit of clarification, a little bit of reteaching our students would be at proficiency. And so here's the kindergarten standards. We then have our results in math and ELA. This is the chart version, and if you give me 2 more slides, I'll get to the fun pretty pictures. So the way that this assessment was set up is that the first 2 columns are assessing 1 standard in 4 questions, and the second 2 columns are assessing 1 standard in 1 question. So what you'll see there on the far right is a split either between not proficient or highly proficient, and that's because the students either received a 0 out of 1 or 1 out of 1. So that's kind of where that split happened. And here's the results for our kindergarten ELA. And again, a similar structure was had here where those first 2 columns are the pre-post of 4 questions, the second 2 are pre-post of a singular question for a singular standard. And so here's the pictures that we're all kind of used to seeing up to this point. So we can see how the growth of the math happened from, we had about half of the students at that highly proficient, and by the end of it, we had over 3/4. And similarly for ELA, we see probably about 33% to about 66% went from highly proficient on the post. Here's our first grade standards. Again, we have those identified in math and in ELA. Here's their chart for math and for ELA. And again, the fun picture. And so we can really see what's happening here is that we're really dialing that back, where those interventions were really successful for those students. Our teachers targeted the right activities. They tied them in very strategically to the Lego activities that they were doing with the students to really make that learning come alive. You'll see it in the video too. Here's our second grade standards. Again, those will kind of break down what those actual standards were. Here's their chart for ELA. Again, guess I skipped over math one. And then here is the pre-post again for for math on the left-hand side, ELA on the right, but this is for second grade. So again, we're seeing a lot of that growth. We're moving our students out of that 50% and lower. All of our students in second grade ended up with the 60% or higher on their post tests. Our third grade standards, the math chart, the ELA chart, and then here is our visual. Our fourth grade standards, their charts, and then the visual. And I think it's really important with this one to really focus on the red and the orange both represent scores of less than 50%. And so really looking at how they minimize that from pre to post in 11 days of instruction is pretty notable. So what that shows is that those students really took to what those teachers were teaching. Our teachers were strategic in those learning activities, and it made a difference for our students. And that's that knowledge that's going to carry them into the next grade successfully. Our fifth grade standards, math chart, ELA chart. Again, you have access to peruse these, but I think these pictures sometimes speak a little bit better to what we're looking at here. And again, from that math, we went from mostly red, orange, and yellow. So the red is 0 to 25%, but orange is 25 to 50, and the yellow is 50 to, I believe, 70. And so really looking at how we made those changes in that fifth grade cohort. Here's our sixth grade standards, their charts, and then their images. So again, really focusing on that growth that was made from students from that minimally and not proficient up to proficient and highly proficient based on the activities that they were exposed to and how the teachers strategically linked the standards with those Lego interactive activities. Our seventh grade standards for math and ELA, their charts, and then their eye graphs. And so in seventh grade, our math teacher was able to get all of the students into that highly proficient, that 85 to 100%. And then similarly with our ELA, she was able to get all of them into proficient or highly proficient based on how she had them working. She's really leaning in on the model that I know primary is implementing a building thinking classrooms where students are up and they're at whiteboards and they're collaborating. And that's a lot of the results that we see here. We don't have the presence of eighth grade because that's where secondary had their freshman academy, their success academy. And so all of our exiting eighth graders, incoming ninth graders were rallied there to support with that transition to high school. So in our credit recovery classes, I know it says 9th, 10th at the top, this is addressing all of them. We had two different teachers who kind of did a divide and conquer. One is strong in math and science, and they're strong in writing and ELA. And so they work together to support those students. And you can see that in total, the students completed 834 lessons. So it's making some really, really good progress in some of those credit recovery courses for those students who may be a little bit behind. Again, we started those invitations with students who are at priority. We want to make sure that we support those students getting across that finish line as much as possible. And so a huge shout out goes to Megan Haley, the guidance counselor at the secondary campus, because she was really instrumental in helping identify the students that would best benefit from summer school and from those courses. And she was monitoring their progress and updating transcripts as needed. Here's a quick little visual on our attendance. And so you can see that first grade had a 90% attendance, seventh grade had a 96% attendance. But all in all, we had some pretty good attendance for being only 11 days. It being summertime, because things happen in summer. So we're pretty excited about their attendance. We had 49 students that did have perfect attendance throughout the course of the 11 days of summer school. We did have some infractions that Mr. Meese handled throughout the course of summer school, and so you can see those there. Our younger students, we saw a little bit more of that defiance and disrespect, a little bit of bullying, and then learning how to navigate online platforms, so some computer violations. And then as we get to the older students, that's when we saw some of those more severe ones, and Mr. Meese handled all of those as he should have. So we have some reflections here of some of the teachers.
I'll give you a little bit to, if you wanna pick one or two and read them. And so one of the biggest reflections that teachers had that Mr. Weed shared with me in anticipation of this was that the teachers really appreciated how the Legos and the Lego activities really strengthened what they were doing with the math and the ELA content. And so it really made the learning come alive, which isn't just something that Lego does, it's something that our teachers were able to creatively say, hey, this is how we can really link these two things together strategically. A lot of them were sharing how they're wanting to continue using Legos into the school year, and really making all of their lessons come to life. Mr. Meese was really excited. He also had some positive feedback from families, saying that their students were like, I can't wait to go back to summer school because they were having a lot of fun with those Lego activities and just with the instruction that the teachers were giving. And so Mr. Meese just wanted to acknowledge everyone that had a hand in making summer school successful, from the office to the health aide to the security, to all of our teachers, to food services, transportation, the folks at district, our technology department who worked tirelessly to get all of the laptops over there from all the different sites and get those working, get them going, the support that we have from the governing board to get the program up off the ground, and to our intermediate campus for hosting us. He was just really excited to share that and share his appreciation for how everything went in summer school. And I believe that's the last slide.
Questions before the videos on the superintendent report or the summer school report?
Ms. Vance?
It was really good to see all that blue. I mean, it just shows that the data that's coming in and the way you're using it and the way it's being applied to making sure that the kids understand that are not, have low scores in that area. It's just really, I don't know. I've never seen a full blue chart before, a pie. That is very cool.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'll make sure that, I express some appreciation for the stories and to our students.
The biggest thing is that in 11 days, that snapshot of, and I'm not sure that over the course of what the year may be, the rigor, depth of knowledge, or whatever it is that we need to make sure that the kids are grasping in that short amount of time. I'm sure that the system or whatever it is that is in place is completely different than what we're doing throughout the year, but obviously, to me, and I will be honest, there were some why Legos again types of comments, and I know those things don't come because they're not like a bad thing, but it's like maybe there's something else that we're not tapping into that will get more students to feel just as excited and show us all that blue throughout the school year as opposed to just in that 11 days of summer school. But I got a little bit of a feeling. But that's not to say that not all of us are capable of it. I think that we want to be able to support that across the entire district. So I don't know. I mean, how do we do that? I'm not discrediting that. We do try to do as much as we can. And it's a very different environment when we're dealing with regular school years versus summer. So don't think that I'm trying to say do that. But I do want to say, obviously, the steps that we've taken, and I want to say thank you, especially, and the team, for really putting something together that is showing some really good impact. So hopefully they go into the new school year with a little bit more of a pep. One other thing I wanted to ask Mr. Diaz is if in the future, because summer school isn't, I understand last time we had all grades at one campus, but I think it was a little bit more ideal. So I don't know if the plan is to continue to operate 2 schools during summer rather than 1, again, thinking about fiscally being responsible about how we have to operate now 2 sites during summer. Can we try and consolidate that into one and just, since there isn't as many students as we have throughout the school year, I think that would be much more ideal, and especially because I saw transportation issues where students were being all the way down to secondary, then all the way back to cells, when they were just coming here and picked up. So I think here nor there, I think it will, from what last year didn't seem like it was an issue, but I don't know, maybe there was, and that's why it was at a different site. But I just wanted to leave you with that.
We will review all the possibilities and we will keep the government more apprised of how we're going to be conducting the summer school this year.
Excellent. Mrs. Stevenson?
I just want to say that it's like, it's amazing to see, but also realizing that not everybody learns the same, and I think one of the big things is like these hands-on opportunities for students to engage. One of the quotes that I do like to see is, they were talking about how they brought in fun and how they brought hands-on into STEM experience, and seeing everybody engage and seeing them grow from that experience. I want to say thank you to everybody who made this possible, because it did happen in endemic days, and imagine if we focused some of our energy into some of these activities, and maybe not just labels, but in some kind of interactive opportunities for students to have, then it would increase a lot of their tribalism. So I really appreciate all your efforts. This one.
And one of the wonderful things about the Lego Kits is that the more that our teachers are exposed to the trainings, the more comfortable they feel and the more they're like, I'm ready to take this into my classroom. And so that's a lot of what we saw, especially for those teachers who this was their second year doing summer school. They were like, I'm ready now to take this into my classroom.
That's good to know too.
So I think a lot of the teachers are ready. We're building systems for them to request those, so we can give those hands-on opportunities a lot more regularly. And then President Buendia, you had brought up that the question of rigor and depth of knowledge of the assessments, and we did strongly encourage the summer school teachers to lean on the beyond textbooks district formative assessments so that it was aligned with and consistent with things that we are already doing, so that it didn't end up being something outside of. It was all within those systems and structures and gaining more familiarity and gaining more success within the systems we already have.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Betts?
And I guess this would be for superintendent. You know, the statistics that we were just seeing, I wonder if that would be somehow put into the information packet that goes to Memphis to show that when we, what we're doing and the changes we're doing, and give them something refreshing to look at as far as moving forward in that positive manner. So that would be really good.
To do what? I'm sorry, this is the first part. Oh, in APHIS. Oh, I missed that APHIS part. I like
I think if
that.
you're
Yeah.
feeling in the line of the systems that we are trying to encourage and put in place as a board, in order to support that.
It is in a language we're using back date, so it would be, hey, this is what's going on. I like that.
Okay.
Show the blue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Let's give a round of applause to all of the summer school staff. Department. Let's now watch the video. Both the summer school and
Just the summer school.
students.
Okay.
so, and balance, right?
They need really good balance to stay on the rope so they don't fall.
Questions for superintendent's report? If not, we'll move on. Number 10 is our cooking club sponsors and extra duty. Baboquivari Middle School, Travis Lisco for head coach, Angelo Lopez for assistant football coach, head football coach, Angelo Lopez for assistant football coach, Romina Carlos for head volleyball coach, Val Carlos for assistant volleyball coach, Roberto Candy for head boys basketball coach, Alan Hila for head girls basketball coach, Sky Anton for assistant girls basketball coach, Cobias Buendia for head baseball coach, Sylvia Valdez for head softball coach, Romina Carlos for assistant softball coach, Tiffany Reese for cross country coach, Baboquivari High School, Richard Cody Garcia for head coach, head football coach, Jalen Juan for assistant football coach, Omar Acuna for head volleyball coach, Leila Ochoa for assistant volleyball coach, Joseph Mies for head cross country coach, Joseph Mies Jr. for head boys basketball coach, Drew Harris and Open Felix for assistant boys basketball coach, Joseph Mies for head girls basketball coach, Susie Garcia and Tiffany Mies for assistant girls basketball coach, Waylon Martin for head baseball coach, Andre Anton for assistant baseball coach, Amber Anton for head softball coach, Shaylin Anton for assistant softball coach, Joseph Mies for head track and field coach, Leila Ochoa for assistant. Sorry, that's gonna be an amendment, correct?
Yes.
Leila Ochoa for head track and field coach and assistant track and field coach position will remain vacant. And then this last one, Destiny Robles for head cheer coach. Correct. Okay. Again, board members, just for your information, those positions or have already been approved, they're just putting individuals in. Number 11 is the first reading of Baboquivari by school district policy adoption IJNDE-EA password protection. Mr. Spaulding, anything?
Nope, this was brought forward by Mr. Aaron Bates, according to the auditor general, that we need to establish a password protection policy, so he submitted it. This is the first reading for your review, next month we'll vote for action.
Good, board members, again, just as noted, for your review, please review and provide any recommendations and or questions to Mr. Diaz or Mrs. Paul. Letter for our action items for this meeting. Number one is discussion and possible approval to adopt the Baboquivari Scholarship Annual Expenditure Budget for fiscal year 24 or 2025, 2026. Ms. Clementine Carr.
Good evening again. The fiscal year 2025-2026 proposed expenditure budget was approved at the meeting held on June 17, 2025. The governing board authorized the administration to publish the public hearing notice and the fiscal year 2026 summary of the proposed budget. Both were posted on the Arizona Department of Education website on June 18, 2025. The information was also posted on the USD website on June 20, 2025. The budget is required to be adopted by the governing board before July 15 to meet the guidelines set forth by the Arizona revised statutes and all applicable sections of the Uniform Systems of Financial Records. The proposed budget was presented for final adoption during the public hearings scheduled earlier, and the administration recommends that the BUSD Governing Board approve the adoption of the fiscal year 2026 expenditure budget as presented during the public hearing.
Any discussion or approval for the
I make a motion to approve.
a motion to approve the budget for fiscal year 2025-26 by Ms. Kathleen Vance? Is there a second? Second by Ms. Andrew Stevens.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla,
So,
Kathleen Vance,
I'll second.
Anne Marie Stevens, motion carries.
motion carries. Number two is the second reading of the Baboquivari School District Policy Adoption ECA-RA. Any discussion or is there a motion to approve? This memo or this policy is regarding student ID policies that help identify no students to regulate access to campus facility and provide verification of services such as meal plans, library usage, and entry. Currently, our campuses do not have standardized policy in place. I have a motion by Ms. Anne Marie Stevens to approve policy adoption ECA-RA.
Second.
Second by Ms. Vance.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla,
No solo.
Kathleen Vance,
Second.
Anne Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Number three this evening, sorry, motion carries. Number three this evening, second reading of the Arizona School Board Association Policy 876-905. Board members, if there are no questions, this is
Policy around finance purchasing.
finance and purchasing policy. If no discussion, is there a motion to approve? I'll move the item for approval. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Anne Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of the motion, Juan Bonilla,
No solo.
Kathleen Vance,
Second.
Anne Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Motion carries. Number four is the second reading of the Arizona School Board Association Policy Advisory 906-908. Mr. Spalding.
This is brought to the governing board's attention for the first reading for the use of technology resources, which would require more strict rules for students on cell phones, reporting of child abuse and student records.
May I know the least for discussion? What did you have on this, please? Oh. I really want to consider, at least at some point, I know that these policies are not written in stone, and I want to make sure that that's impressed upon everybody. And for the most part, I think at some point, I've seen a lot of schools turn to a no cell phone policy, to some degree, because I know we've dealt with it so much. And I would really like to see if that might be something we consider in the future, especially if it kind of becomes an issue where it's an issue, which it has been. And I'm not saying that we haven't observed that. So, if that needs to be brought back forward and we're having some issue, again, hopefully we continue to kind of have some reporting and really support our schools and what they need to be able to do. And again, as I've seen other school districts implement it, yes, there's some discomfort, but it also ultimately turns
We
over
will
to everyone.
survive. We will survive.
That's my note. Other than that, for now, this is the item presented before us. All motion to approve,
Second.
second by Ms. Kathleen Vance.
All those in favor of the motion, Juan Bonilla, Kathleen Vance, Anna Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Motion carries. Number 5, discussion and possible approval of the recommendation from Baboquivari School District Legal Counsel to not pursue overpayment claims. Mr. Diaz, anything you want to note?
President William, members of the board, members of the community, this is also a follow-up based on one of the audit general recommendations based on the report that was published on July 26, 2024. The district has made every effort into recuperating those fundings. We have recuperated over 80%, and part of the follow-up implementation is to close out this item. We still short about $31 that we have not been able to recoup, regardless of the efforts. And at this point, it will be more expensive to continue to pursue recuperating those funding. So I am asking your support in reviewing and considering my recommendation to the board to approve the waiving of the outstanding overpayment as presented.
There are no questions on motion to approve. Second by Ms. Anne Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla, Kathleen Vance, Anna Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Motion carries. Number 6 is discussion and possible approval of banking services for fiscal year 25-26. Mr. Diaz.
Presumably, members of the board, this is a routine business. We ask to be able, the governing board to review who will be authorized and we recommend the Baboquivari Unified School District governing board to approve the banking changes as presented.
Without any discussion or objection, a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla, Kathleen Vance, Anna Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Motion carries. Number 7 is discussion and possible approval of the school's facilities board 15 project awards grants. Mr. Diaz.
Presumably, members of the board, as I was mentioned earlier, Baboquivari Unified School District has been very fortunate of receiving the SFA funding. A part of the process is that we need to approve the funding grants that have been awarded to Baboquivari Unified School District. So at this point, we recommend the Baboquivari Unified School District governing board to approve the SFA grants as presented.
Any questions to the item? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Anne Marie Stevens.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla, Kathleen Vance, Anna Marie Stevens, motion carries.
Thank you. Number 8, discussion and possible approval of resolution strengthening Ockham language, English, and cultural presence across the USD campuses. For the board's consideration, I did propose this item. And for the sake of the public and those who may not review, I'll go ahead and read the resolution. And then board members, if there's any questions, please feel free to chime in. Strengthening Ockham language, English, and cultural presence across the USD campuses. Whereas the Baboquivari Unified School District is located entirely within the sovereign lands of the Ockham Nation and serves the children, families, and communities of the nation. And whereas the governing board recognizes that the Ockham way of life and a language are essential to the educational and cultural well-being of students. Whereas the Ockham Legislative Council and the USD have entered into the amended and restated intergovernmental agreement for the joint provision of language and culture instruction effective June 30th, 2023 for the 2023-24 school year. And whereas the board has observed the need for greater consistency, visibility, and protection of language instruction, cultural education, and environmental care within the school district operations. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing board of the Baboquivari Unified School District hereby directs the superintendent to implement the following. Number 1, all the language visibility and use. All school campuses and district facilities shall display their officially approved Ockham school names in highly visible areas. Where feasible, the Ockham school name shall appear larger and more prominent than the English name, reflecting its cultural and linguistic priority. These names shall be integrated into printed materials, digital communication, signage, and branding. Superintendent shall ensure accuracy through collaboration with field speakers and language authorities. Number 2, staff participation in language development. All BUSD staff and governing board members are expected to engage in learning and honoring language to the maximum extent possible. Each school site shall integrate a minimum of 30 minutes per week, up to 90 minutes monthly, of structured language development for staff. The download language should be made present both orally and visually at all school sites, through daily use, signage, announcements, and cultural expression. Language teachers shall be protected and prioritized in their teaching role, and their time to develop and deliver language instruction shall be maximized and not be assigned during contracted hours. The superintendent shall work with school administrators to develop a sustainable implementation state. Number 3, the protection of language and cultural instruction. Instruction in all the language, culture, history, and conduct is a top educational priority and a core provision of the intergovernmental agreement. The superintendent shall ensure that staff tasks in these areas are not reassigned or diverted from their instructional duties for other site needs except in emergencies. Language and culture classes shall not be reduced, shortened, or deprioritized, and a written policy shall be developed to formalize this protection. Number 4, environmental stewardship and cultural respect. The superintendent shall implement district-wide review protocols to ensure natural features such as trees, native plants, and land are not removed or disturbed without proper consultation. Staff shall receive training that reflects the ultimate worldview of respect for land, flora, and fauna, acknowledging the cultural harm that can occur when natural elements are treated carelessly. This understanding will guide all facility decisions moving forward. Number 5, affirmation of the local control and educational authority. The governing board affirms its role in setting culturally aligned standards and ensuring sovereign community-rooted education. This action aligns directly with the 2023 Intergovernmental Agreement and reflects the board's legal, cultural, and moral responsibility. The superintendent shall provide regular reports to the board detailing signage implementation, staff development participation, instructional protections, and environmental review updates. Number 6, respectful naming and representation on digital platforms. All official BUSD social media accounts, digital platforms, and public-facing materials shall reflect respectful and full representation of the district's name, the ultimate language, and cultural values. Account names, usernames, and handles shall not be shortened, abbreviated, or altered in ways that diminish the significance of the name Baboquivari or the cultural identity of the district. An example of Baboquivari education should be avoided. The name Baboquivari reflects sacred mountain ranges and holds deep spiritual and cultural meaning for the Baboquivari people. Its full and respectful use is required in line with the board's commitment to upholding the IMLEC. The superintendent shall ensure that all current and future social media or digital communications platforms are reviewed and updated to reflect these values and guidance shall be developed for the school's staff responsible for communications. Be it further resolved that this resolution affirms the governing board's commitment to local control, cultural sovereignty, and educational excellence rooted in the Ghana and their Are there any questions? Comments? Ms. Vance?
No comments, I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Kathleen Vance. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Anne Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of the motion's resolution, Juan Boudier,
Also,
Kathleen Vance,
No second.
Anne Marie Stevens, motion carries.
motion carries. Number 9, discussion and possible approval of donation. Mr. Diaz.
President Medina, members of the board, as part of the policy needs to accept any donations. At this point, we do have a vehicle that was donated to our automotive high school program by our board clerk at the events with a monetary value of approximately 1,250, priceless in sentiment value. So at this point, I'm asking our governing board to please approve the donation as presented. And thank you, Ms. Vance, for your consideration in bringing tools that will enhance and improve our auto safety program.
With that, I'll motion to approve the donation. Second by Ms. Anne Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla,
Monsalvo.
Kathleen Vance,
Be in your order.
Anna Marie Stevens. Motion carries.
Motion carries. Number 10. Yeah. Discussion and possible approval for a delegate and alternate to attend the ASBA delegate assembly on Saturday, September 6, 2025 in Scottsdale, Arizona.
There is also a virtual option to that too.
Hush.
There is also a virtual option for this.
Oh. Is anybody itching to go? Yeah.
I can go delegate. I can go delegate.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Vance. There you go. I can be alternate if you want to be alternate. You can go. Okay. You need that in a motion then?
Are you gonna do that?
I can be alternate. Yeah.
No, because he's usually on
I'm not. I can be alternate. Yeah.
the, okay. Well then, you should have been delegate.
I can do it. Alternate.
I'll be more.
Okay. Alright, motion to approve the delegate as Juan Buendia, myself, and alternate as Ms. Kathleen Vance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Anna Marie Stevens.
All those in favor of the motion, Juan Bonilla,
Monsalvo.
Kathleen Vance,
Second.
Anna Marie Stevens. Motion carries.
Okay, letter G is our consent agenda, letter G is our consent agenda. Without objection, on motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance.
All those in favor of this motion, Juan Bonilla,
Monsalvo.
Kathleen Vance,
Masako.
Anna Marie Stevens. Motion carries.
Letter H is our request for future agenda items. One of them is board members law conference, 9 on September 4th through September 6th. Anything else we need to start?
Yeah, registration opens tomorrow, so I gotta get like on at like 6 AM or 6:30.
I would like to attend.
Okay. Ms. Stevens?
Yeah, I think you can.
Mr. Bonilla?
Yes.
Sylvia has said she's going also. I don't have a commitment yet for Jessica. And
Mr. Savannah, I think based on the law conference, this is one of the ones that I will highly recommend, Jessica and Miguel to attend. And to make every effort possible, given that as an informed member, that it will be my highest recommendation for her to ensure she attends this conference.
okay, I'll check out the cutoff dates if she doesn't answer, to make sure that we get her informed.
Okay.
I do also have, the NTI, on Monday, July 14th, the new teacher induction. If anybody would like to come and do introductions to the new teachers that are coming in.
It's Monday.
I think I left a sheet on there.
Oh, you did. I could be here if anything, but Ms. Vance, Ms. Stevens. Not just because I'll be here, but.
If we only have 30 minutes to be able to introduce all of us.
Don't limit me. Just kidding.
No, what I'm trying to say is that we will not take a lot of your time. It is intended to meet any staff and for them to have a name and a face to our program.
Be awesome if you could pop in. Did you pop in after 10? these guys.
When you come in, we'll let in Medina and Ms. Kinsey know that you may stop by and also may stop by during the day just to.
Then I'll be in the first week in March.
I am gonna be working out in the field.
Okay. Just reach out to both the other board members.
I will.
Anything else? Do we need to talk about NAFIS at all?
I'm sorry?
Do we need to talk about NAFIS at all yet? No?
It's, I thought we was, because we do have one, ticket for Miss Hendricks that she needs to use, otherwise we will
Okay.
lose it.
Anything? That's it. Look at that, 7:00.
Bye.
Motion to adjourn, Mrs. King. Second by Ms. Henry Stevens.
All those in favor, Juan Cordero,
Masalo.
Kathleen Banks,
Masako.
Henry Stevens, motion carries.
7:07 PM, we are adjourned, have a good evening.